Welcome back, Daydreamer. Today we're going to finish up the G-Gundam build with a diorama.
Ragtag Daydreams is sponsored by NewTypeHQ.com.
Okay, so today we're going to modify the foam block thing that I showed you in my last episode so that it's easier to apply flocking and it looks more natural like ground cover instead of like a bunch of pieces of styrofoam, which it is. We're going to be using some plaster cloth or plaster bandage. This is a Woodland Scenics product that I have, but you can find something very similar to this in a lot of different hobby stores, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, things like that if you're in the States. And it's just, pretty much the same thing. So plaster cloth or plaster bandage, look for that. I'm also going to be using some more Woodland Scenics things because that's how I got into making dioramas. I bought a few kits that were certain types of landscapes that Woodland Scenics puts out so that I could have a little bit of everything and I could make something and not have forgotten something or, it was all there. So that's why I chose to go that route in order to learn. So I have smaller bags of things like this, which is ballast. And if you know anything about model railroad, ballast is basically the rocks and gravel that go in between all of the ties at the rail. We've got some green grass fine turf, and I'm also going to use some of the Woodland Scenics fine turf in a different color green to change up the landscape, make it look a little bit more natural. Also got some brown medium, it's called talus on here, but it's basically just rocks, boulders, that sort of thing to rockier terrain. And without any further ado, let's finish up this G-Gundam build with a diorama. Okay, so we've got our water right over here, and then I'm going to use some of this plaster cloth. Alright, and so this is what it's going to look like, and you can just kind of hold on to it a little bit and pull it out like that. What we're going to do is we already have a rock face here and here. This was just from a mold, again, from Woodland Scenics. It's something that I had molded a long time ago, and so I still had the space. And we're going to cover all of the styrofoam bits with this plaster cloth. Another thing is you can take a small strip and kind of ball it up like this. The plaster kind of works almost like a resin or the epoxy or whatever you want to call it. Basically, the fiberglass resin is what I'm going for. And then the fibers of the cloth act like the fiber for the fiberglass. So it makes things very, very strong if you want to just fill in gaps like this one here. It's a very strong piece that will be pretty good whenever it's dry. You can't get in there with your fingers because you have fat fingers like I do. Pick up a Q-tip, pick up a end of a paintbrush, whatever you got to do, and get to work. It'll work. This stuff is very forgiving while it's still wet. Don't be shy. As you can tell inside there, I mean, it looks rough and it kind of blends in with the rock face that I've got there, and once we're done with that, it'll look fantastic. Okay, my hands are a mess, but this is plastered. As I explained before, with this paint, it's just for it's just really crappy hobby paint, really. I'm going to be using that as a base color for dirt, rocks, whatever. Poopy. Just edge highlighting a little bit while it's still wet. Get a little swirl action happening with the rocks. It just helps later on to have a little something, little base to start with there. A little black. Okay, we will let that dry. Okay, this is pretty dry right now, nothing coming up. So we're gonna start adding some small stones and things like that. I'm going to use some of this fine green turf flocking that I also got in the same kit. I'm going to use some of this fine turf flocking here. It's in a different color. So I think it always looks better if you use two different colors. And some ballast. We're going to use our same big cheap crap brush. Pull that up here. Just kind of give everything a nice coat where we want things to stick. Add a little water to that, just out of our paint, our wash cup for our paints, and that's going to thin this down. So you don't actually have to make scenic glue or buy it. You can get some cheap wood glue, and then once you brush it on, you can just use the paint cup water in the same big brush like this that's going to soak up a lot, and it will dilute it down to just about where you want it to be. Oh yeah, that's a little too diluted, but it's okay. That'll go a long way. Get in there. So we're gonna add some of these rocks. Green flocking. And this stuff gets really messy as well, so if you can kind of place it on your glue spots where you want it and nowhere else, it will make your life easier. Yet again, we're going to leave that to dry, and then we will shake off the excess into a trash. Okay, I went ahead and cleaned up the area just a little bit to give myself some better working conditions here. We're going to make some bushes. And you can see it starts to seep through, like right there. And you just kind of hit it a little bit more. If I was smarter about this, I'd have maybe a little spoon or something to be able to do that with. We're going to kind of take stuff here and there and let that stuff kind of settle, and it will stick. And we'll let those spots actually just be more wet. We won't pile that stuff up. And yet again, we'll let it dry. You know, that foot's going to go right there. So that's where we're going to drill through for our cord to go underneath. There we go. Real easy, real easy. You can always take the Q-tip, make sure that it's clear all the way through. Now that glue that we have in there, we're going to push down on these feet, just like that. And the glue that we have there that's not quite dry yet, it will help to secure this to the base. And also the push out right underneath here will look like he's stepping down and actually pushing the ground away a little bit, because this is obviously a very heavy mech. Okay, almost done. Let's get our little Domon figure up here. All right. So there we have pretty much a finished deal. We just need to let that really, really dry. Probably going to leave this overnight to just make sure it really, really dries. And then we'll be ready to have it lit and go. Okay, so now is the time. It's the next day. I've got a battery hooked up, and I've blown away a lot of the excess flocking and things like that. Let's give it a look, shall we? Okay, so that's it. That is our completed G-Gundam. And in a very real way, I'm disappointed in myself. But it did have a lot of learning opportunities, and I've never really kit bashed as much as I did with this kit, even though I didn't put a lot of extra parts onto it. It's just not something that I've found a lot of success in. When I've tried to kit bash in the past, honestly, it was such a failure and it looked so bad that and things just didn't function correctly. I just gave up on the terrible Frankenstein's monster that I had created. Overall, though, I don't think this is a terrible, terrible build, and I'm still proud to put it on my shelf because, you know, at least from a distance, it looks pretty cool. Next up in the series, I'm finally going to be able to start on the Zaku Warrior, the Gunner Warrior build. And even though I have part of it torn apart because I'm already filming part of what I'm doing for it, I can show you a little something special that I decided to pick up to make this this whole build just unique. I found a Luna Maria Hawk figure to add to this build, and hopefully sets me apart a little bit. I have a feeling that's not going to be a problem. I'm like 90% sure I'm going to get my ass handed to me on this competition. But hey, that's something to look forward to. And just, you know, looking forward to progressing through this, and hopefully I do something really great. I'm not big on planning builds out, and I know that can be a very big shortcoming for me, because people who plan their builds out, they come in more prepared, They make the build easier for themselves, and they can do more detailed stuff at the right times and not have to go back and forth. And it's just not me, though. It's just not me. This was something that I thought about whenever I was doing the G-Gundam build in this episode. It of course included the Domon figure, and I don't know. There's something about adding the pilot figure to the kit that I really like. I'm probably in the minority there because Bandai stopped making those pilot figures and putting them in the master grade kits quite a few years ago. But if you guys really like to see the pilot figures with the kits, hey, drop me a comment below. As a matter of fact, while you're there, if you like this video, give it a like, and if you think somebody could learn something or how not to do something from this video, share away. And if you enjoy my videos at all, then please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so that you know when I put out new videos like this one, and hopefully more that are a lot better. Don't forget, check out these videos right up here if you want to see more content from me. I have a full series of building the Rick Diaz and making that crap kit better because it was just a HG and it just wasn't great. As always, I'm Justin, your ragtag daydreamer, and I'll see you soon.